So I understand that you were up at 4:30 in the morning, this morning, working, what, on phase 2? What were you working on?
So Steve is a very early riser, and my kids get up early to go to school, so the time before they get up is usually a great time for us to catch up before the day and go over.
Gosh, they're so mild-mannered and well-spoken.
What's been happening overseas. So this morning we were talking about a lot of the issues of getting the aid into Gaza and deconflicting some of the misunderstandings.
Deconflicting?
Deconflicting. God, I hate these man.
Meaning?
Meaning that you have a lot of people with good intentions right now. An example is the UN is trying very hard to get food into the people of Gaza. The Turks were offering to send.
This is the financial cleanup team that's being sent in at the end of the genocide. Here they are. They've got their brooms. This is so disgusting. I can't believe that we're with a straight face. He's talking about a completely ethnically cleansed strip of land in the Middle East that they are going to just restructure and rebuild into a neoliberal hellscape at the expense of hundreds of thousands of dead bodies that lie in the rubble. I mean, there's so many dead people in the Gaza Strip right now, buried under rubble, and we have financial elite types like Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, real estate moguls, who are giving 60 Minutes interviews talking about how they've been up late at night and early in the morning trying to get this deal done. Phase 2, baby. Phase 2. Got to get it going. This is just, I mean, it defies, I don't even know. It's beyond words to me. I can't believe that we live in this world.
Recovery and rescue team in to help search for some of the dead hostages.
The dead hostages. At most, what are we talking? 28 dead hostages? There's 680,000 plus just completely littered throughout every town and city along the Gaza Strip, which is a very small strip of land, 25 miles long, 5 miles wide, like the size of Philadelphia. There's hundreds of thousands of bodies. And he's talking about investment opportunities, and he's even acknowledging the fact that there's people clearing out the rubble and searching for dead people.
That we're looking to recover, and there's just a lot of miscommunication that stalls and holds up some of these efforts. So getting all sides' perspectives and finding a mechanism to get quick adjudications and the right adjudications.
When he says all sides' perspectives, he means the United States and Israel.
Is something that's very necessary to put in place.
I heard the president asked you what the chances were for success.
Yes.
And you said?
100%. And he said, why do you feel so confident?
Yeah.
And I said, well, we can't afford to fail.
We just kept on thinking to ourselves, this finish line is about saving lives.
I need.
You know, I especially love when they deliver these delicious lies. It's the ultimate cowardice, the ultimate spinelessness, the ultimate gaslighting. To do all this depraved shit, to carry out this genocidal act, but then to couch it in this language, this rhetoric of, you know, freedom and democracy and saving people and humanity, and it's just so gross. I would much prefer it if they just spoke plainly about their evil. Quit trying to co-opt it and astroturf it.
You did some bare knuckle stuff. You know, I think of the real estate negotiation as hard-nosed, get your dukes up.
There were a couple intense moments that we...
The f is this interviewer? Like, what? What did she just do? Get your dukes up. This is like softball.
We had, but what led to this was really the trust that we were able to build. And I was trained in foreign policy, really, in President Trump's first term by seeing an outsider president come into Washington with a different school of foreign policy than had been brought in place for the 20 or 30 years prior. And his foreign policy was really about pragmatic realism, right? Taking pragmatic stances, trying to use strength to avoid wars, and figuring out how to make deals, not lecture the world. And so the way that...
Wait, what does that mean? Make deals and not lecture the world?
Focus on interests over values sometimes. And
sometimes? I mean, here, finally, he's like sort of getting at the truth. Yeah, we're just going to ditch the morals, we're going to ditch the values and just go to self-interests. I mean, you can't make this shit up. He just spelled it out for us, you know? As if the likes of Jared Kushner and the apparatus that he represents is concerned overly with morality and values, human values, other than the economic value of profits. Jesus Christ.
Where do we have joint interests with other countries and pursue those joint interests? And then where you have differences on interests or values, discuss those privately and try to find ways to get it to the best place possible. But the way that we were successful in the first term with a lot of the different trade deals and peace negotiations like Abraham Accords and ending the GCC dispute was that we never approached it with people like we were across the table from you. We sat with the people from other countries and we said, let's agree on the same objective. And then once we agreed on the objective, we kind of locked arms and said, let's figure out ways that we can work together to try and get there. We joke with the Abraham Accords that we succeeded at Plan C, but only because we went through the alphabet 3 times and failed at every letter and kept going, and we never quit.
The Abraham Accords, which is a normalization and sanitization and astroturfing, I know I'm overusing that word, of the Israeli occupation of Palestine. It's a sanitization, more of a normalization of the Arab states and Israel. And what does that mean? We're normalizing all the occupied territories. We're normalizing the war crimes. We're accepting. It's like officially acknowledging, okay, Israel is legitimate and they are able to continue the genocide. We accept everything that they're doing, and let's continue and do business. That's the Abraham Accords.
And was that true here as well?
We probably went through the alphabet 7 or 8 times.
I think so, yeah.
And
This was more complex.
I heard that one of the things that was different from a diplomatic approach was that you took risks, more risks, a lot of risks.
It's always the capitalists, the real estate investors, the industrialists, the high-tech CEOs that take the risk, right? They're always taking so much risk. In actuality, they hate risk and they never take anything risky. That's why they require state power and state support. But I love when they interview these suit types and say how risky they are and how risky their behavior has been. It's never risky what the Palestinians are going through, of course. The precariousness of life, etc.
Would you agree with that?
Well, first I would say that President Trump is a very different sort of president to work for. He delegates well. I don't think people realize that. He gave us a lot of authority to negotiate. He felt, he understood the dynamics of it. We put him in the room. We explained it to him, I think, thoroughly. But he gave us lots of authority, Leslie, and
to make decisions without having to check in all the time.
Yeah, and it's not to say, by the way, that we wouldn't check in. We did check in often. Mm-hmm. But that feeling of comfortability on our part, it allowed us to freewheel it a little bit.
Give us an example of the freewheeling.
The freewheel. They're so creative. They're like artists, guys.
Insight into how that worked.
After the missile strike in Qatar from Israel, Steve and I basically were very upset about that. We thought that really was not a smart strategic move, and it violated a lot of the trust that we felt like we deserved from the Israeli side. And so at that point, Steve and I basically sat together and said, we need to take a whole new approach, and perhaps with all of this chaos can come an opportunity. And so we decided to take the previous ceasefire proposal and then the end of war proposal that we've been working on and merge it together into one document, and then focus on seeing if we can get the Qataris and the Arab world on board. And
God, it's just like, it's so complex. We had to like merge these other two, plans together with some tape. We really tried hard to get Israel to stop murdering people. It was just really hard. It's like really complex and difficult. There's a lot of moving parts. But basically, we were just trying to get Israel to stop.
So we put that together, spoke with the Qataris, made a lot of progress, brought it to the president, and he said, I love this idea. Let's go all in, and let's push very hard to get the Arab world aligned, and then we'll figure out how to get Israel on board and turn this whole negotiation around.
Okay, I'm going to come back to the attack on the
What a great journalist. Yeah, the attack on the thing. I'm gonna get back to that.
Let's move forward for 1 second. So you have both done a lot of business with the Gulf states, billions and billions of dollars worth of business. And you've done some of the business while this negotiation has gone on. And that has raised some issues of conflict. I mean, some blurring of a line between, what you're doing in terms of foreign policy and benefiting financially from what's going on.
So first of all, let's
Yeah, you guys are like using the state to make a lot of money.
About any instances where Steve or I have pursued any policies or done anything that have not been in the interests of America. Number
The
two
perception?
But Liz, we can't spend our time focused on perception as much as we have to focus on the facts. We're here to do good, impossible tasks, and because this is important, I've volunteered my time.
Let's see. Is it important? Why is it important? Can we just see how much money you stand to gain by turning Gaza into another 4-star resort with a Starbucks on every corner? Into Mara Gaza, if you will.
The President and Steve try to make progress, but Steve nor I will be involved in awarding contracts or figuring out who does business, in Gaza after.
Well, from my standpoint, Leslie, I'm not in business anymore.
But your family is.
But I've divested. Like Jared, I receive no salary.
It's just so crazy that they're talking about Gaza. Like, yeah, in Gaza. They're just acknowledging, yeah, we're going to do all this in Gaza. And the entire world is screaming that it's a genocide that's happening in Gaza.
Pay all my own expenses.
This has become an issue.
What people call conflicts of interest, Steve and I call experience and trusted relationships that we have throughout the world. If Steve and I didn't have these deep relationships, the deal that we were able to help get done that freed these hostages would not occur.
Thank God we've got capable people that are handling the business and the duties that are so important in this world. We salute you, Jared Kushner. Thank you for making the world a safe place. I'm resting assured now.
We have trusted relationships in the Arab world and even in Israel, where we've both done business in the past, but that means they trust us, we understand their cultures, we understand how they work, and we're able to use those, that knowledge and skill set to try to do things that advance the world.
Do things that advance the world. Whose world? What world? What are you talking about? You just destroyed an entire world. I have a feeling when Jared Kushner says advance the world, his view of the world is very limited and narrow.
I would agree exactly with what Jared said. And I like his statement that conflict of interest is a terminology used by some, and we call it experience. We really do.
You call conflict?
Hey, you know what? I think what they're really trying to tell you is that, are you hating us because we're successful? Conflict of interest, like, sorry, we're good at what we're doing. Yeah, we make a lot of money, but that's because we've got a lot of experience and trust, Nobody could have got those deals. All the people that are still living in the Gaza Strip, you have us to thank. Sure, we're going to make some money off the top. Good work should be rewarded. We're very capable individuals. So when you say we've got, an ulterior motive here, I mean, we're the people to do it because we're successful people. Sorry.
Conflict of interest experience?
Because we don't think there was a conflict of interest, Leslie. That's why. Because we don't think that we crossed any ethical barriers. Because there becomes this sort of perception that there might be a conflict of interest because we can call Sheikh Mohammed in Qatar directly. Or because we can call...
You guys are just jealous that he can call Sheikh Mohammed in Qatar, okay? They've got him on line 2.
Or Bibi directly, or because we can call the foreign minister of Turkey, who is a very critical person in this equation, or call MBZ in the Emirates, or MBS.
Get him on the phone.
Immediately,
yeah.
and garner support. The president, when we went to that UNGA meeting with the Arab leaders, came out of that with almost unanimity, a consensus support from everybody there. We had been working those telephone lines to all the leaders of those countries. We were not talking to junior people or lieutenants over there. We were talking directly to the people who make the final decisions. And that ultimately became very, very critical to us being successful.
I want to ask you about a statement you made that may have framed your outlook on this. Jared, you said, issues are simple. It's the people who are complicated and complex. Issues are simple? Now that really is inverting the way diplomacy has worked.
Yeah. Well, I agree with him, by the way. I agree with that statement.
Yeah, the problem is the people. Those people. All them poor people. The problem is the Middle Easterners. Why aren't they, like, accepting of what we're doing to them? We're here to save them from themselves. Let's blame the public. Always. The issue is very complex. These people want human rights. It's really just a difficult thing. We have to pry it from them.
I say all the time.
And your issues were so thorny, they're still hard to get through.
I like to say, Leslie, and it's a version of what Jared, you quoted Jared as just saying, I like to say that we're sort of like, our title should be Secretary of Miscommunication and Correcting Miscommunication. Because that's a lot of what we were doing out there. You know, we were trying to build trust between people who didn't trust each other because of decades of mis and distrust. And that's
Yeah, I mean, this is not a real interview. The interviewer is not doing their job. This is what do you call these kinds of things? What do you call this type of interview? There's a word for it. I'm just blanking on it. Can somebody help me?
not an easy thing to correct.
Can I say the issues are simple and the people are complicated?
Yeah.
When I first started looking at this file, I spoke to everyone who'd been involved in the Middle East diplomacy for the 20 years prior.
All the historians and all of those people.
Yeah, and the way they were explaining things to me just made no sense. And the foundational idea that I came to is that people just want to be able to live with security and live freely. They want to be together. They want to have economic opportunity. They want their children to be able to live a better life. And they want to safely and freely practice whatever religion they choose to practice. And that, for me, was really what it was about. And so when you think about everything through that light, you have all these old historical conflicts or balkanization of communication.
Balkanization of communication? How about the balkanization of Palestine?
Focus on how do we make the future better versus getting stuck in these old conflicts.
Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe to the page to help it grow. And if you'd like to support my work, join my Patreon for exclusive content.